Hi there, welcome to Urbinary, the podcast cataloging the everyday and extraordinary in the city.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode on Urbinary. I'm Shweta, your host for today, and I've got Busra here with me as well, who's currently doing a PhD here in Politecnico di Milano.
That's right. I am particularly thrilled about today's discussion because it aligns closely with my PhD research at Politecnico di Milano, which dives into how urban spaces evolve under the influence of religious affiliations and the formation of religious enclaves. These enclaves, driven by desires for the preservation of the way of life, the possibility of religious emancipation, ideological homogeneity, and communal identity, that raise fascinating questions about voluntary spatial segregation and its relationship with religious fundamentalism in contemporary urban contexts. My study explores these dynamics through various lenses, including urban sociology, urban morphology, and the space politics. Since there are incremental political engagements between the religious groups and the state that affect the urban fabric both socially and physically, I believe it is really vital to understand how fundamentalist religious groups exist spatially in contemporary urban contexts, especially through practices of spatial exclusion, marginalization, and isolation.
Yes, I agree. And also, they are often overlooked and misunderstood nuances that define the social fabric. And we also have Dilip here with us today to take us through the role religion plays in the city, especially when it comes to religious tourism and their overall impact. Dilip, my good friend, is an architect, urban planner from India, and graduating from Politecnico di Milano this April, and his thesis, Sacred Trails and Social Bonds Challenges and Perspectives of Locals and Pilgrims in the Religious Tourism Landscape of Mathura and Vrindavan, India, will be the starting point for this conversation.
Urbinary.
That sounds really fascinating, Dilip. The intersection of religion and urban space is a topic ripe with insights for not just urban planners and architects, but also for sociologists and environmentalists. Your focus on Mathura and Vrindavan, given their historical and religious significance, adds a layer of complexity to how we perceive and manage these urban spaces amidst growing tourism.
Yes, of course. But before we delve deeper into the topic, Dilip, how does it feel to be here?
Thank you so much for having me here, Shweta. And it's truly an honor and pleasure to be a part of this podcast and discussing about religious tourism and excited to share my insights and experiences with your audience today.
Thank you. And personally, religion has been a major influence in my life, being brought up in a small town in the south of India. I've always been curious about the complexity behind the whole debate of religion and secularity and the impact it has physically in an urban scenario. So that made me pick up the theme as study for my thesis.
From my side, it's a bit different, I have to say. For my master thesis, I was working on the legal brothels in Turkey and trying to understand the relationship between immorality and the city. For my PhD project, I didn't want to repeat myself with the same topic and I decided to think about the relationship between morality and the city this time. Of course, this decision navigated me to think about spatiality of religion, and I realized the huge and transformative impact of religion on the built environment in Turkey. This observation piqued my curiosity about the broader implications of such transformations, leading me to explore how religion practices shape urban planning and cultural landscapes on a global scale. So, Dilip, what made you take up religious tourism as the topic of your thesis research?
Thank you, Shweta and Busra, for sharing your story. Like you, I've been deeply influenced by religion growing up in North India around sacred places. And during my recent trip to India, I encountered firsthand the challenges faced by sacred sites due to congestion and infrastructure issues caused by pilgrimages. Seeing the problem these places face on a recent trip to India got me interested in the religious tourism. And I want to understand why people visit these places and how we can take care of them better.
That's very interesting. So, to get a better understanding of your research, let's make it simple for the audience here. So, religion in this context, what we are talking about, is examined not as a spiritual or a philosophical framework, but also as a dynamic force that contributes to the formation, organization, and evolution of urban environments, impacting their layout, infrastructure, and cultural expression. Did I get that right?
Absolutely, Shweta. You have captured the essence perfectly, I believe. Religion functions not just as a system of belief, but as a potent agent that influences the very fabric of urban life. It molds the organization, physical structure, and cultural dynamics of cities. This concept aligns with the idea that religion and spirituality profoundly shape the geography of cities, from their architectural landmarks to the naming of streets and beyond. To quote Harvey Cox, in the secular city, the metropolis and secularism have always been natural allies. But within the secular city, religion thrives in its urban form, adapting and influencing its surroundings. This highlights the dual role of religion in urban contexts. While it adapts to the urban environment, it also exerts a significant influence on the city's development, planning, and social fabric.
Yes, well said. So, Dilip, you study the impact of religious tourism in India, especially with respect to two cities, Mathura and Vrindavan. Can you elaborate a bit about how and why you chose India and those two cities in particular for your study?
Sure, Shweta. Certainly, I choose to study religious tourism, especially in Mathura and Vrindavan, India, because they are important pilgrimage sites linked to Lord Krishna and the holy festival. They are also strategically located between Agra, New Delhi, and Jaipur, which is the major tourist destination in North India. So, during my research time, I found one of the scholars who worked precisely on the Indian context in religious tourism, and his name was Karan Shinde. His research shows that religious tourism, like in Vrindavan, mostly relies on people's devotion. So the government doesn't need to promote it much. Even though it's informal, it leads to new religious businesses and with little government involvement in managing visitors or working with locals. So this means like pilgrimage sites vary in low how organized they are, from very organized to not much at all. So, however, I found that temple management and the cooperation among local authorities are poorly balanced, and there's a lack of proper trust and coordination, which makes managing these places a challenge. Addressing these issues is crucial for preserving the cultural heritage, which Mathura Vrindavan has already, and ensuring sustainable development of these sacred destinations.
Indeed, Dilip. The motivations behind pilgrimages and their impact on local cultures and economies are fascinating. The interaction between temple culture, social culture, and economic culture forms a unique ecosystem within these sacred cities. It is interesting how these elements coalesce to shape not just the spiritual but also the socio-economic landscape, creating multifaceted experience for both locals and visitors. This interplay is crucial for understanding the full impact of religious tourism on urban environments. In your thesis, you also talk about the motivations behind pilgrims to visit the sacred sites and how it influences the interaction among temple culture, social culture, and economic culture. Can you elaborate a bit?
Sure, Busra. In my thesis, I explored the multifaceted motivations of pilgrims visiting Mathura and Vrindavan. And during my 4 day visit to both cities, I interviewed locals, temple management, vendors, and tourists in India. Religious tourism's motivation are diverse, shaping intricate social, economic, and cultural interactions. Vrindavan, in particular, serve as a major pilgrimage site, fostering a unique social landscape where devotees and locals from strong bonds share religious practices, communal rituals, and the physical environment all contribute to the sense of community. In addition to religious activities, pilgrims and locals in Vrindavan engage in various cultural events that further enhance social cohesion. These events include vibrant festivals celebrating the life and teachings of Lord Krishna, such as Janmashtami, cultural performances like classical music and dance recitals, as well as theatrical productions depicting stories from Hindu mythology, are also common. Community gatherings, including spiritual discourse, communal meals that call prasad, and religious processions, provide additional opportunities for individuals to come together and connect on a deeper level. These cultural events not only strengthen the bonds between pilgrims and locals, but also contribute to the town's rich cultural heritage, and which making Brindavan a dynamic hub of spiritual and artistic expression. Meanwhile, local residents play a vital role in guiding and facilitating the pilgrims, forming meaningful relationships built on trust and shared values. The economic opportunities generated by pilgrimages create a symbiotic relationship between pilgrims and locals. Together, they engage in various social and cultural events, strengthening the social fabric of the town and contributing to the rich tapestry of Indian society.
That is very interesting, Dilip. And also, India stands as a global epitome of cultural diversity and boasting a multifaceted tapestry of religions and myriad social practices. For example, Times of India states that Indians undertake more pilgrimages than business trips and spend more on pilgrimage than travel for education purposes. And also, according to the National Sample Survey Office, the estimated value of temple economy stands at approximately $40 billion, constituting about 2.32% of the gross domestic product, which is the GDP. But you have extensively talked about the effect of religious tourism on urban expansion and vice versa on your research. So, based on your analysis, how do you think the future of these cities look with respect to the research context?
Okay. I completely agree with the data you provide, Shweta. During my research, I've looked at how religious tourism affects the growth of cities, especially in Mathura and Vrindavan. These cities are grown fast mainly because of their temples and religious places. But there's a worry about what might happen in the future. For example, in Mathura, there's a dispute over a temple. If the government decides to build something like the Ram Mandir, it could change the city a lot. While this might bring in more tourists and money, it could also cause a problem like making the cities too expensive to live in and losing their old culture. Also, because most people in these cities live in rural areas, too much development could make things unequal. To make sure Mathura and Vrindavan grows in the right way, it's important for city planners to listen to the people who lives there and think about what they needed. Instead of just focusing on building more temples, they should think about how to develop and help everyone in the city, keeping the culture and history in mind. By doing this, we can ensure that these continue to be special places for everyone, both locals and the visitors.
Dilip's insights into the potential future of these cities are enlightening. It underscores the delicate balance needed between promoting tourism, which is often a significant economic driver, and preserving the authentic cultural and spiritual essence of these places. As urban planners, we face the challenge of integrating modern development with traditional values, ensuring that growth is inclusive and sustainable. The preservation of cultural heritage in the face of rapid urbanization is a complex but necessary goal, requiring innovative approaches that respect the past while accommodating the future.
Now, can you please sum up your findings or learnings from your research, Dilip? How much of an influence does religion and religious tourism have on the development of cities?
Uh, in the last 2 decades, the Mathura and Vrindavan have experienced significant changes due to religious tourism and impacting their economy, culture, and environment. And temples play a central role in attracting pilgrims and driving economic activities while also shaping social interactions. However, rapid development has raised concerns about environmental conservation and heritage preservation. The intersection of political and religious dynamics influences decision making regarding pilgrimage sites management. Tourist behavior analysis reveals recurring visits and preferences for shorter stay, often influenced by personal experiences and social networks. Smith's model helps understand the complexity of gentrification, environmental degradation, cultural appropriation, and resource strain in these cities. These factors intertwine, shaping the socio-economic landscape and cultural identity of Mathura and Vrindavan. To address these challenges, holistic strategies like sustainable development and community empowerment are crucial for preserving their unique heritage while promoting responsible tourism.
Let's say, recognizing that there is no one size fits all solution and that the dynamics are multifaceted is a crucial acknowledgement. Do you guys agree on that?
Yes, sure. Recognizing the multifaceted dynamics at play is indeed crucial. It is clear that the impacts of religion and religious tourism on urban development are profound and varied. As urban planners and researchers, we must adopt a holistic perspective that accounts for spiritual, cultural, and economic dimensions of urban spaces. This approach ensures that development strategies are not only effective but also respectful of the communities and traditions that give cities unique characters.
Yes, absolutely, Shweta. I totally agree with you. Recognizing that there is no one size fits all solution and understanding that the dynamics involved are multifaceted and indeed crucial. Each situation, especially when dealing with complex issues like those found in religious tourism and city development, requires careful consideration of various factors and contexts. What works for one city or community may not necessarily work for another. Therefore, it's essential to approach these challenges with an open mind and a willingness to tailor solutions to find specific circumstances and needs. Openly acknowledging the presence of religious influences on the city's spatial dynamics, policymakers and urban planners can take the essential first step towards developing strategies that are culturally sensitive, inclusive, and sustainable, especially in cities like Mathura and Vrindavan. By recognizing the significance of temples and pilgrimage sites in shaping these cities, planners can integrate religious and cultural consideration into development plans. This approach fosters a sense of belonging and preserves the unique identity of these places, ensuring that the growth is harmonious with spiritual values and environmental concerns.
Urbinary.
Okay, that's well summed up. So, this question is for the both of you guys. If you can conclude with one word each, what is urban planning for you? You can relate to today's topic as well if you suppose.
Thank you very much for your question, Shweta. It is integration for me. In the context of my research and today's discussion, urban planning must strive for the integration of diverse religious and cultural identities within the urban fabric. It's about creating spaces that respect and reflect the complexities and peculiarities of identities while promoting a harmonious coexistence within the broader urban ecosystem.
And Dilip, you?
Thank you, Shweta. As a huge fan of Jan Gale, whose theories emphasize the importance of designing cities for people, I see urban planning as about balance, finding equilibrium between development and preservation, meeting the needs of the present without compromising the future. In today's discussion on religious tourism and city planning, urban planning is about harmony. It involves integrating spiritual and cultural aspects with economic and environmental considerations, creating spaces where people can live, worship, and visit in harmony with their surroundings.
Okay, so integration and balance. Very interesting. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a delight talking with you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shweta and Busra.
Urbinary.
Thank you for joining us today, Dilip. And for our listeners, stay tuned for our next episode with Hoy and Julia, who will be in conversation with Sare, a member of our team. In the next two episodes, we are changing our focus to explore the housing and settlement field. Hoy will be delving into refugee settlement, integration, and policies in the European and Middle Eastern contexts. Urbinary is produced in collaboration with Poly Radio, the official radio channel at Politecnico di Milano.
Urbinary, the podcast cataloging the everyday and extraordinary in the city.